Yo, what's good, YouTube? In today's video, we're getting into the top 5 best possible assault rifles for you guys to use. Enjoy this video. Be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so our first AR up here on the list is going to be the SVA 545. This is an absolute tank, and I would highly suggest you guys use this. You can use it in burst fire mode. You can use it in fully automatic. This is going to be primarily a fully automatic build, as I believe that's the way it's more effective right now. So let's hop into it. First thing in the muzzle category, we're going to go throw on the Quartermaster Suppressor. The Quartermaster is going to be a reoccurring theme here within this top 5 because it is just so good. It's pretty much used on all of our ARs, SMGs, LMGs. It doesn't even matter. We're just using it pretty much on everything, all of our primaries and secondaries. So I'd highly recommend if you guys to run the Quartermaster exclusively on your builds. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to throw on the STV Precision Barrel. Basically, this is the best barrel in here. A lot of these other ones just don't make sense. They try to maybe make the SVA faster, make it more of an SMG. It does not matter. There's no reason for you to ever use the SVA as something like an SMG. It's just not beneficial. So use the STV Precision Barrel. That's going to make it really truly effective at longer distances. You can see your effective damage range is 41.4 meters, which is awesome, and your bullet velocity is 874 meters per second, which is definitely more than enough. After that, on the barrel section, we're going to go throw on the Bruin Heavy Support Grip. This is a tried and true underbarrel. I think this definitely works out perfectly fine when you're running the SVA in fully automatic. If you're running it primarily in a burst style build, the build is going to change, which I can probably show you guys that here very quickly. But the Bruin Heavy Support Grip is definitely the way to go. After that, we're going to go down here to the magazine section, throw on the 60 round mag. Obviously, I am a 60 round mag kind of guy, so I'd prefer to go for that 60. I think it is definitely just, I mean, it's the best option. I mean, we don't need 45 in the mag. It's not like we're worried about like the little bit less mobility we get with the 60. We'd rather have more rounds in the magazine when it is our primary long range option. And then lastly, we're gonna go up in here into the optic section, and we're gonna go throw on the Jack Glassless, and this is going to be our optic of choice. You can, if you really want to, throw on the Choreo Eagle Eye. We'll scroll down here just a little bit. It is a little bit farther down, but that is also a great option. It's actually just a little bit decent farther bit down, but the Choreo Eagle Eye is going to be basically the other choice you can have. That actually works out pretty nice for fully automatic and also for the burst. So go ahead and just throw this on here. But if you guys want to run this, let's say in like the burst sort of form, I'd recommend for you guys to try something else out. You could take off the Bruin Heavy, go down here, throw on like the high grain rounds. That'll boost up your bullet velocity and your, of course, your effective damage range. And because it's gonna have virtually no recoil, you're gonna be just an absolute tank. You're gonna be hitting a lot of the shots at long range. So a very simple way to go back and forth. Run this if you want to run it as burst. Run this if you want to run it as fully automatic. Next up, we're jumping into the BAL 27. This gun was horrible, absolutely horrible when it came out. But ever since the season 5/season 5 for Loaded update, it caught a nice buff, making it significantly better than what it was when it came into the game. And it is now indeed meta. It has been a little bit as meta, but nobody's using it. So first thing, of course, Quartermaster Suppressor. Ain't gotta explain this one. We're just gonna throw that on there. After that, in the barrel section, pretty much a few options in here, but the one we're gonna go for, because we're trying to make this truly a long range AR, that's gonna be the Crown H3 barrel. This gives you the most amount of bullet velocity and range you can possibly get out of a barrel. It just makes sense. You can look at the detailed statistics here. Nice 38.1 meters of effective damage range and your bullet velocity of 884. This is not going to be a super like crazy long range, you know, AR. Like you're going to be able to hit better shots at long range with like the SVA, for instance, as opposed to this. This is kind of like your resurgence, run around, like more of that medium-ish range AR. And you're still going to have some good success at long range, but it's definitely not going to be as easy to control or as effective because the bullet velocity is not pushing 1,000. After that, we're going to go up in here. Actually, let's go down to the magazine. There's only one option in here. It's the 60 round mags. We're gonna go throw that on. And of course, up in the optic section, we're gonna go throw on the Jack Glassless. This is pretty much the only optic I'd recommend. Maybe another red dot in here if you guys want to go for that, but no reason to throw on like the Choreo. Doesn't make sense. This is not, like I said, your super long range option. It is just a good AR, not like super crazy far distance. So Jack Glassless works out great. Lastly, to stabilize the gun out, we're gonna go in here to the stock section and throw in the Ardent Tac stock, which gives you a nice increase of 29%, 7 and 7, while not really slowing you down a whole lot, which is pretty cool. That's why it's more of that mobile, you know, resurgence style AR. You can have great recoil control and hit, you know, a lot of your shots and be pretty mobile. So it's a really nice option to have in the mix of your loadouts. So that's gonna be my full build there for the Battle 27. Up third here in the top 5 is gonna be the STG-44, and this is, I'm just gonna put it out there, this is still the #1 AR in all of Warzone. No matter how you look at it, this is still definitely the #1 option, and I'll show you guys the most effective way you guys can run this. I mean, this exact build I'll show you along with the striker I used in my previous video was the gun, which is what helped me drop my PR of 55 kills on Rebirth Island. So first thing in here in the muzzle category, we're gonna go through on the Quartermaster suppressor as always. Barrel section, this is actually where it gets slightly tricky when you're trying to build out the STG, because there's basically 3 barrels which are pretty much effective. So first one being this Bruin Crux heavy barrel, which is pretty sick. Gives you a nice 24, 24, and 13% increase. It's kind of like your middle ground. It also does give you some recoil control properties. So between this and the other barrels, it's not going to be like a huge, crazy, ridiculous difference, but it is still nice to have, you know, a little bit of recoil control. After that, we're going to go in here to Heinrichter C70, which is going to be pretty much, this is my personal barrel of choice because it boosts out my effective damage range the absolute most in comparison to the Crux Heavy, which only does 45.7. This does 47.0. And then after this one here, we have the Fengor 792 barrel, which does kind of give you a bit of like a middle ground. So this is 47 and 42, and we have 45. This is kind of like, I guess, your lowest one right here, but it still actually does give you the most cons, unfortunately, in the mobility category, which I'd say doesn't make a lot of sense to go ahead and run. So pretty much either run the Bruin Crux Heavy or the Heinrichter. And for me, I'm going for the Heinrichter as the most range, and I have no problem controlling the recoil. So if you have problems controlling recoil, go for the Bruin. If you don't, Heinrichter C70, call it a day. After that, going down to the magazine section, I'm gonna throw on the 50 round drum. The 40 round is actually pretty cool if you're trying to make this like a hybrid AR SMG. If you're just finding on ground loot, if you notice the 40 round mag version, it's actually pretty good. It is, but overall, if you're trying to use this as a full long range, you definitely need the 50, especially playing trios and quads, which is pretty much what I'm assuming a majority of us are playing, because that's just generally speaking all I play is trios and quads. 50 rounds is what you should be using. Optics section, you go throw the jack glasses on here, and like I said about some of the other guns like the SVA, you guys can go ahead and throw on the Corio Eagle Eye, which is of course going to be a little bit farther down here. Not my preference to run on it, but I've gone back and forth. It's still truly effective. Corio Eagle Eye versus jack glasses, it is literally personal preference. My PR breaking build though did happen to have the jack glasses on though, so kind of do what you want with it. Just figure out what works best for you, what fits your play style between the jack or the Corio. Lastly, stock section, we go through on the DR79 combo stock, and this just gives us gun kick control, recoil control, and firing aiming stability. Pretty nice stock, nice 21, 11% increase. It does exactly what it's needed to. It doesn't do too much, too little. It actually just does exactly what we need, and it is the perfect sort of attachment to have on here without really slowing us down. I like it more than having something like the Bruin Heavy support grip on here. I believe this is much more effective than having that. So this to me my full PR breaking STG build. Now jumping into our fourth gun, that's going to be the MTZ-556. This is once again another incredible AR that I don't think many people use. Seems a lot of people are just caught up on the STG, and well, for good reason. It's still really awesome, but this is pretty much like one of the lowest recoil guns you can use for a primary. It's actually kind of ridiculous. So first here, as always, the Quartermaster. After that, barrel section, a few options in here, depending on how you want to build it. But basically, the only correct way to go ahead and build this thing is with this first barrel here, the MTZ Clinch Pro. You may be asking yourself, Chuck, why would you not use the Drifter Heavy Long Barrel when you take a look at its effective damage range being 52 meters? Well, the main thing we're concerned with is obviously not with the recoil control properties, but look at the bullet velocity. This is only a 15% increase, putting you at 825 meters per second. Whereas if you go over here to this barrel, we get a nice 21% increase. And keep in mind, your STG damage range, the best AR in the game, is only about 47 meters. This is 49.3. And now your bullet velocity is at a 26% increase at 903 meters, as opposed to 15 at 825. So that other effective damage range is pretty overkill. What you're going to feel a lot more is the bullet velocity increase and your shots hitting faster and better at long distance. Trust me, it's going to be very noticeable, so you're going to want to use this exclusively. On the barrel section, Bruin Heavy support grip is going to be your like tried and true like zero recoil way to build this gun. If you guys want a little bit more mobility, I'd go ahead down here and run something like, where's it at? I may have actually passed it. Oh, the paracord grip. I did happen to pass it, but the paracord grip actually does work out very well here on the MTZ. You can use it. You're gonna get a little bit more of that iron sight bounce because we are going to be utilizing the iron sights, but if you don't want to, You just go ahead and just run the Bruin Heavy and you'll be good to go. Magazine section, we're gonna go through on the 50 round drum here, which is fantastic. Highly recommend you guys go ahead and do this. It's the only real plausible, viable option in here. And lastly, in the stock section, what I would go ahead and run is the MTZ Marauder stock, which gives you the perfect amount of recoil control and gun kick control and all that sort of fun jazz to make you truly a laser beam. But if you don't want to run the iron sights for whatever reason, if you don't want to go ahead and do that, you don't want to run the Marauder stock, just take that off and throw on your Jack glasses and you'll be good to go. This will work out just fine. Last but definitely not least, the Holger 556. This is an incredible AR, and I think I see less people using like than the STG, the MTZ. Like, this is probably the least used meta AR out there, and I don't really know why. Maybe it's just because the magazine size is not the absolute greatest, but still hits very hard, very easy to control. So as always, first attachment, quartermaster. Barrel section, pretty much the only option in here is the Cryos 6 match barrel. Makes you more effective. Of course, your blow velocity is about 800 meters per second, and your effective damage range, which is kind of crazy, is 50.3 meters. So you have pretty much the the longest effective damage range out of any of these ARs just by default by having a barrel on there, which is pretty sick. After that, we're gonna go down here to the magazine section, skipping the underbarrel because it's not as effective with that one. We're gonna use the 40 round mag here. Of course, it only comes with 30 round stock. 40 is, like I said, the downside to this. Unfortunately, I'd rather have a 45, 50, 60, something like that. That'd be preferable, but 40 is still going to do the job. It's not a super fast fire rate gun, 588 rounds per minute. Maybe that's why not as many people use it, because slower fire rates generally tend to mean that a gun is less forgiving because you have, more follow-up time between shots, as opposed to something that's got a 750 or an 800 round per minute fire rate. Those guns are a little bit more forgiving, like, the MTZ fires faster, so more forgiving, but the 40 rounds is definitely the way to go here. Optic section, Jack classless, as always. This is not a Choreo Eagle Eye gun. I'd say this just works out so much better just due to the firing, aiming, stability benefits. This gun sometimes has a weird tendency to bounce just ever so slightly, and this just definitely stabilizes it out. The last thing in the stock section, we're gonna go through on the RB Adel stock, which is going to do the exact amount of recoil control we need. So I'd highly recommend for that, but this is going to give us a nice 9 and 14% increase to our recoil, horizontal and vertical, while only giving us a con of 4% increase to our ADS speed. No other cons. That's pretty awesome. So this has been my full build. That's been my top 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe, notifications turned on. Check out this other video on screen. I'll see you all next time.